Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Benanin, and for today's video we're going to be reviewing a couple of random sunscreens from Target. I believe 3 of these were requested by you guys, but then 2 of them I was in the store and I was like, oh, that looks interesting, and I randomly picked them up without doing any research. So for today's video we're going to be reviewing 5 sunscreens. 2 of the ones that we're reviewing today are mineral sunscreens and the other 3 are chemical formulas. So for the mineral sunscreens, I decided to bring in a special guest for you guys. Woohoo! I brought in my husband Dennis to test out the mineral sunscreens for us, because as you guys know, that's really where we tend to get the issue with white cast. So I thought it'd be nice for you guys to see what it looks like on someone with a deeper complexion, and then also with my husband who is white and has very fair skin. And I also thought it'd be beneficial for the men that watch me on this channel. I know there's not a whole lot of you, but there are a couple, and I do get questions like, how does the sunscreen wear in facial hair and on your hairline? And I can like talk about the hairline, but I can't really talk about the facial hair because I don't got any. Not really. Well, I have a little bit, but not much. So I thought it'd be helpful for him to come on and test it out so you guys can see what it looks like in like the beard and on somebody with a fairer complexion. Before we jump into this video, as always, I want to talk about my skin type, because your sunscreen may wear different if you have a different skin type. For me, I have very oily, extremely sensitive, acne prone skin, so I tend to get more reactions from sunscreens. That's a little bit about my skin. Without further ado, let's jump right into this video. We're gonna start out with the Cerave Hydrating Mineral Sunscreen. It is a broad spectrum SPF 30. This is their face sheer tint. It is supposed to blend seamlessly into your skin with a lightweight, non-greasy feel, and it says that it's suitable for sensitive skin. The active ingredient on here is 5.5% titanium dioxide and then 10% zinc oxide. So this is a mineral formula. Some of the other like inactive ingredients that includes is 3 essential ceramides and niacinamide. For me, it definitely left a white cast. Wasn't as bad when I let it sit for 15 minutes, but as you can see, as I'm rubbing it in, it's not rubbing in. I look like Casper. So it's kind of a bummer that this one left a white cast, but as far as the finish of it was a little bit drying for me. Even though this says this is a hydrating mineral sunscreen, it felt a little bit drier. When I put it on Dennis, as you can see, his looks really good. Like at first there's kind of a bit of a white cast, but when he let it sit for 15 minutes, I think it looks pretty good. There is a slight tint to it, so you can kind of see that when you compare his face to his neck, but I would say overall it actually looked really nice on him. I was like, oh, it looked really nice, and he said he enjoyed the finish of it as well. The next one that we're going to talk about today is the Neutrogena Invisible Daily Defense Lotion. This is their broad spectrum SPF 60+. This one is a water resistant sunscreen for 80 minutes. The active ingredients are avobenzone 3%, homosalate 13.5%, octisalate 5%, and octocrylene 10%. So this is a chemical sunscreen. Some of the extra ingredients is that it says that it has antioxidants that help fight environmental aggressors such as cold, ozone, and pollution, and it claims to rub invisibly into the skin. I will say that this sunscreen isn't technically marketed as a face sunscreen. They do have another face formula. They were just out of stock when I was in the store, so I might try that in a different review. But I like to still test out, you know, sunscreens that are not necessarily marketed towards face, because I find that when you talk to like everyday people, they don't want to carry around a face sunscreen and a body sunscreen like on their day-to-day. It's just a hassle, so then they just don't bring any at all. So I like to test out sunscreens that are sort of could be multi-purpose. So even though this is technically a body sunscreen, I still wanted to try it out on my face, because I know for some people they just want one sunscreen that's going to be for their face and for their body, and hope that it works for everything. Just for like ease of use and convenience. So I went ahead and tested this one out on my face. This one's got the Neutrogena scent. I've talked about this before. It's just a scent that isn't very pleasant to me. I don't know how to explain this scent. It's not the type of fragrance that like goes away when you apply the sunscreen. This one lingers, and for me, that is something that I'm kind of sensitive to, a very strong fragranty smell. And I was like sniffing all day. I'm already sniffing and I just smelled it once. So keep that in mind if you are sensitive to fragrances. This is a very strong like Neutrogena fragrance to it. As far as how it wore, it was invisible for me. There was no white cast at all. It's a very like liquidy formula. It kind of reminds me of the Neutrogena Hydro Boost. I've reviewed that, I want to say like a year ago maybe, but it's that very like liquidy, very gel like consistency to it. So when you put it on, it feels very like jelly and shiny, but then it actually sits pretty well into the skin, and I feel like it sets down quickly as well. So I wore this one for a full 2 hours, and then I reapplied it to see how the reapplication would be like. And for me, it was okay, but there was a little bit of pilling kind of like in this area where it just felt like it was kind of clumping together and breaking apart a little bit, but it was nothing too extreme that I wouldn't be able to deal with. So for me, it felt very lightweight. It dried down pretty good. The only thing I'll say is it tends to leave sort of a very thin film. You can even kind of feel it on your hands after you apply the sunscreen, but I think that's because of the gel consistency. It's nothing like unbearable, but my other downside to this sunscreen is it does burn your eyes, so be very careful when you put it like around your eyes. For me, I like to like set it with powder, and that kind of helps, but just keep that in mind. All right, the next one that I tested out was this Baby Bear Republic Mineral Sunscreen Lotion. This is a non-nano zinc oxide soft stick, SPF 50, and it's water resistant for 80 minutes. This is hypoallergenic, fragrance free, and the active ingredient is zinc oxide 17.9%. This is interesting because the packaging kind of looks like a deodorant. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to twist the bottom just like a deodorant, and then it kind of pops up with the sunscreen, and then you use this to wipe it on your skin. So I thought the packaging was like interesting. Like this could be handy when you're on the go to just rub it on your skin and not have to worry about your hands. And it's actually like a sponge up here, you know, it's not like a hard stick. So I had high hopes for this one, but sadly the white cast was crazy, like for me and for Dennis. I went ahead and I put it on and I kind of rubbed it in with the stick. The trick with this is you have to like put the slightest amount on there, and then make sure you're not putting too much pressure, because then it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't ever like fully spread out with the stick. I had to go in with my hands, and as you can see, I look like Casper the Ghost. I'm very ashy and gray, and even after letting it sit for the 15 minutes, it still looked terrible. The actual formula of it, kind of, the more I rubbed it in, it kind of started to feel like baby powder. It was very like soft to the touch, so I wasn't mad at that. When my husband tried it out on his fairer skin, I thought that maybe it would work out, but even for him, as you can see, there is a white cast, and it's not as extreme as mine, but you can definitely see that it doesn't fully blend into his skin. This one was also pretty terrible when it comes to facial hair. Cerave one wasn't that bad in his facial hair, in like his beard and stuff, but this one, it just like clumped up in all of his hairs, and it like once it got in, it wasn't coming out at all. So I wouldn't recommend this really to anybody. All right, the next one is the NYX Professional Makeup Bare With Me Sunscreen Daily Moisturizing Primer with Cannabis Sativa Seed Oil. This is a broad spectrum SPF 30 with active ingredients avobenzone 3%, homosalate 5%, octosalate 5%, and octocrylene 7%. So this one is marketed as kind of like a primer, so you're supposed to wear this and wear makeup, but I decided to test it out on the first day without makeup on, just to see how it would wear on its own, because I don't always wear makeup. For me, the fragrance in this one as well was just woo, it was a lot. It was a lot, guys. It smells like, it just smells like straight up perfume. I don't know. So it's a very strong scent, even more so than the Neutrogena scent. I can kind of deal with this and wear it all day, but this one, it was very strong. It's very irritating for my eyes and my nose. And again, the fragrance does not go away. There's no white cast to this one, and it goes on pretty smooth for me. It dries down very quickly as well. I would say that it has a pretty normal, almost glowy finish to it, and like I said, it dried down pretty nicely for me. So I wore it for the 2 hours and I came back, and as you can see, I'm looking very greasy. So then I decided on the next day to wear it without any moisturizer underneath, and I just went to use this as my moisturizer, and I think it wore a lot better that way. But when I wore this one with makeup, I think it worked decently as a primer. For a moisturizing lotion type primer, I think it wore okay underneath makeup. If you have oily skin, it might be a little bit too hydrating and shiny for you to wear under makeup. You might have to go in with a lot of powder to counteract like the glowiness of it. But if you are more normal to dry, I could see makeup sitting pretty well under this one. I experienced a lot of breakouts from this sunscreen, so if you have acne prone skin, I probably wouldn't recommend this for you. The last sunscreen that I tested out was this Pacifica SPF 45 Set and Protect Matte Sheer Setting Mist with vitamin C and C minerals and an SPF protection for broad spectrum UVA UVB. It is 100% vegan and cruelty free, and the active ingredients are avobenzone 2.9%, homosalate 9.8%, octisalate 4.9%, and octocrylene 9.5%. This is actually a setting mist, so when you get it, you need to make sure that you're shaking it, because if you don't, I feel like everything was kind of separating when I tried to use it the first time. It didn't give it a really good shake. So make sure you give this one a really good shake, and then you kind of just like spray it on. I tested this out with and without makeup, so when it sprays out, the mist is actually really nice. It's not like sometimes when you get the spray sunscreens, there's like big droplets, but this is a very fine mist, so I think it works well as a setting spray. My only issue is it kind of clung to my peach fuzz on my face, and you could see it, so I had to still go in and wipe it with my hands. So when I was wearing makeup and I did that, I kind of just pat it into my skin with my hands. You could probably also use a beauty blender as well, but when you like just spray it and try to like fan it to dry, it still doesn't really dry, at least for me. This one has a fragrance. It smells awful. I'm sorry, it smells awful. It's like a citrusy, is it coconutty? But then also when you spray it, it smells like straight up alcohol. I don't know. The scent wasn't that great, but unlike the NYX one, the scent did kind of fade away the longer you wore it. But when you first spray it, it's a lot. Close your nose, close your mouth, And then as far as the finish for this one, it says that it's a matte sheer setting spray, but I would argue that it's pretty like dewy and glowy. I'm wearing it today, and as you can see, I look very glowy, and I've only been wearing it for probably maybe 30 minutes now. And initially when you spray it, it doesn't look matte to me, so I wouldn't consider this a matte formula. So if you're someone that likes a glowier, dewier look, this is I think would work well as a way to reapply sunscreen throughout the day when you're wearing makeup, as well as without. But the fragrance was just a no for me, so I probably won't continue to use it. So my overall thoughts, I feel like I was very negative in this video. If you are sensitive to fragrances, I probably wouldn't recommend any of these chemical sunscreens. The other two were fragrance free. My issue, okay, let me make this clear. My issue is not with fragrance. I actually don't mind when there's fragrance in products. It's when there's an excessive amount of fragrance, when it smells like perfume, or it's like when it's overwhelming when you put it on. And I feel like almost all of these were like that. The Neutrogena was probably the least fragrancy amongst these three, and the NYX was just straight up perfume. So if you're sensitive to fragrance, I would probably stay away from these. As far as my oily skin girls, these two are also kind of dewy, but I feel like the Neutrogena kind of dries down pretty well, so it would work well if you have oily skin. And then for my acne girls, the Pacifica didn't cause me any breakouts, I don't think. The NYX definitely caused breakouts, and the Neutrogena was kind of like, it wasn't anything crazy, but I did experience a little bit of irritation. And then lastly, as far as the white cast, obviously these chemical formulas are not gonna have any white cast to them. So if that's your biggest concern, go for these. And then if you are a lighter complexion. I think the Cerave tinted one actually looked really nice on someone with a lighter skin tone. The Baby Bear is probably a no for everybody though, because the white cast was just crazy. That's my wrap up. I hope it was helpful, informative. Let me know if you guys end up testing out any of these sunscreens. I know I was a little bit negative, but like, if you don't like it, you don't like it, and you gotta say you don't like it. But if you have sensitive skin and you use a chemical sunscreen that you really like and doesn't cause you any irritation, please, please, please leave it in the comment section. I would love to do a review on that. But that is it for today's video. If you like it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye!